Hey friends, and welcome to this new video dedicated to Poppy Playtime series. Today we finally have something truly special to look at together, because new official images have been released showing the first previews of some upcoming merchandising products, and trust me, they look insane. In the previous videos I showed you that mysterious image with 3 emojis, each one representing one of the new nightmare critters. Well, the mystery is finally ending, because now we have the first official previews of these 3 products. In this video, I'll show you all 3 images. We'll analyze every creepy detail and we'll try to understand what they might reveal about the next chapter. But that's not all. After showing the images, we'll also talk about the new characters coming soon. In fact, we will make new theories about them with the information that we already found. Before we begin, as always, if you enjoy my Poppy Playtime videos and want to stay updated with all the news, make sure to leave a like because it helps me a lot, and subscribe to the channel, turning on notifications so you won't miss any updates on the Poppy Playtime, news, speculation, and upcoming theories. Now get ready, because we're about to dive into a journey full of official previews. New monsters on the way, and lots of surprises. Let's see the new official images. Now friends, let's finally dive into the core of the video, because it's time to look at the 3 official images. These previews were released directly by Culture Fly, one of the main companies that produces the official Poppy Playtime merchandise. So we're talking about real, authentic, confirmed material. In the 3 images, we can see 3 different plushies, each one dedicated to a member of the Nightmare Critters family, the mysterious and unsettling group introduced in Chapter 4. And today's stars are exactly them: Maggie Mako, Simon Smoke, and Alistair Gator. 3 characters that we saw in the Chapter 4, and now their plush version is finally coming. What's interesting is that even though the plushies aren't fully visible, they're placed in a dark environment, illuminated only by a soft red light that makes everything look more sinister. We can still immediately recognize them. The silhouettes, the shapes, and some design details are unmistakable, so there's no doubt the 3 nightmare critters are on the way. And the surprise doesn't stop there. The post also includes the release date, which is set for November 24th, literally just a few days away. This date is surprising because usually the Nightmare Critters merchandise follows a very different announcement and release rhythm, but this time it seems Culture Fly decided to completely change the release pace. And this is definitely strange because it breaks the usual pattern we've seen so far. But I won't spoil anything yet. We'll talk more about this in the next part because it might have some very interesting implications for the future of Chapter 5. Now, we enter a really interesting part, because it's time to talk about the release pattern and how Mob Entertainment is handling the presentation of the plushies dedicated to the Nightmare Critters. And here things get unusual, because compared to the Smiling Critters, this time the pattern is completely different, almost reversed. If you remember, the Smiling Critters were introduced one at a time, with a very precise and steady rhythm. One character, then another, then the next. A clean, predictable progression. But with the Nightmare Critters, the story is totally different. In June we got the first reveal, the plushie of Baba Chops, a product that fans loved and that officially kicked off the new line. Then, the following month in July, the second plushie arrived, dedicated to Poe, and at that point everything seemed to be continuing with a regular pace. But then after July, complete silence. No new announcements, no images, no teasers. For months, it seemed like the line had been paused or that plans had suddenly changed. And today, out of nowhere, we suddenly get 3 new plushies released at the same time. Maggie Mako, Simon Smoke, and Alistair Gator. 3 characters at once, all in a single wave, a strategy completely different from anything we've seen before. This means something very important. After this drop, only 3 plushies will be missing to complete the entire Nightmare Critters family. And let's remind this information, the Nightmare Critters are 8 in total. So, the change in release rhythm is obvious, and it almost feels like Mob Entertainment is speeding up, as if completing the family is somehow connected to the arrival of Chapter 5. And of course, all of this opens the door to many theories, which we'll explore in the next part. Now friends, it's time to connect all of this to a much bigger topic. The release rhythm of Chapter 5 and how it might influence or be influenced by the merchandising schedule. Because compared to last year, the situation is completely different and much more complex. When Chapter 4 was announced back in 2023, All the plushies of the Smiling Critters had already been revealed. The entire Smiling Critters family, introduced in Chapter 3, already had its full merchandising line ready before the new chapter arrived. Mob Entertainment had planned everything in advance, perfectly synchronized and organized. This time, though, we're seeing almost the opposite scenario. Chapter 5 has already been announced, everyone knows that, but the Nightmare Critters plushies from Chapter 4 still haven't all been revealed. In fact, until today we only had two, Baba Chops and Po. And only now, all of a sudden, 3 new plushies have appeared at the same time. This sudden change of pace might mean something very clear. Mob Entertainment wants to speed up the release of the entire Nightmare Critters family, so they can finally move on to the merchandising for Chapter 5. Remember, the Nightmare Critters belong to the previous chapter. However, it's also possible that Mob Entertainment might decide to overlap Chapter 4 merch with Chapter 5 merch. And it wouldn't be the first time something like this happened. For example, in 2024, after the release of Chapter 3, they also announced the PJ Pug a Pillar plush, which is a Chapter 2 character. So it's absolutely possible that they might start showing Chapter 5 merch even while they're finishing the Nightmare Critters releases. And considering that in just a few weeks we'll be entering December, it becomes even more logical to think that Mob Entertainment won't waste the most important sales month of the year. December is when companies push merch the hardest thanks to Christmas, and it would be very strange if they didn't reveal something related to Chapter 5. In short, everything suggests that we're getting closer to a wave of new announcements. Now, we finally get to the most important question. What can we expect in the next few days? And this is where things get really interesting, because all the clues we have are starting to form a very clear picture. Let's start with the official information. On November 24th, the 3 new Nightmare Critters plushies, Maggie Mako, Simon Smoke, and Alistair Gator, will be presented. This alone would already be a big event, but we know that Mob Entertainment rarely limits itself to releasing a single update, especially during such a rich period like the end of November. In fact, just 3 days later, on November 27, it will be Thanksgiving, and if we look at what happened recently, the connection becomes obvious. On Halloween, Mob Entertainment released a special Halloween artwork, and on the very same day, they also dropped the first teaser trailer for Chapter 5. This double move suggests a very precise strategy, using holidays to reveal important content. So, it is very likely that on November 27, they will release a new Thanksgiving-themed artwork, but with references to Chapter 5, maybe some hidden clues or hints about the new environment of the game. And considering what happened on Halloween, it's not impossible at all that they could release a second teaser trailer on the same day. If Mob Entertainment follows the same pattern as Halloween, we could really see a chain reaction of announcements. And now we reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching the video until the end. If you enjoyed this analysis and want to stay updated on Poppy Playtime Chapter 5, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Bye bye and see you soon.